worship me like people worship Magamu. When people worship me like people worship Magamu.
Yo, what's up guys, this is Magamu, and if you are looking for a co-op first-person PvE game that you can run around with your friends, you can traverse a scary place, there are mobs and hordes of monsters running at you at all time, it's intense, and you can get various weapons and items and heal items, and overall the game just kind of has a ton of character. Well, obviously we're talking about Left 4 Dead 2, right? What else would we be talking about? But it's not so obvious. So the game we're talking about today is called FBC Firebreak. Weird title, but actually I think this might be a pretty good game coming up pretty soon. So while we're going to be talking about Firebreak, you got to know, I'm going to be showing my biases here, right? So Firebreak is an upcoming FPS co-op PvE game. And if you're wondering why I care, it's because, first of all, I love Left 4 Dead. I have like 4,000 hours in that game. And I love Control, which if you guys don't know, Control and Alan Wake are the universe that this game is based on, right? I absolutely love Control. You should go play that. Also, notable mention, I love Horde games. I love Warframe Survival, Killing Floor. These are all things I really enjoy, so I'm super biased. But the way this game works is we're going to be going back to essentially what is called the oldest house. Now, this is an environment in the original Control game. You're going to be playing the Federal Bureau of Control, the FBC. And this essentially takes place after the original game Control. Now, instead of playing the director, which is the main character of that game, you're going to be playing a member of the Firebreak team. This is, well, these are supernatural janitors, basically Ghostbusters, and you'll be playing them instead of the main character. Now, how does this game work? Essentially, it's going to be broken up into jobs. These are campaigns where you can set the difficulty of the mission. You can set modifiers on the missions, things that kind of change up the gameplay. And of course, you can set it to be more difficult, right? So the more difficult you set it, the better the rewards are going to be. At least that's the way I understand it, right? You'll get better gear if you finish the missions on a much higher difficulty. So as far as how the missions actually work, jobs have different objectives. They are full of objectives from point A to point B, right? You have to do things like escort objects around. You have to repair and manage useful objects that your team might need to finish the mission. You have to help your teammates out in different situations. You have repair stations, healing stations, debuffs. You have to clear out these fires that are buffing enemies up. Essentially, to be clear, you have to do all of these things, and they're kind of built around the kits that your characters are using that makes the job easier. Now, we have to talk about these kits, right? Because I think between the way the campaigns are set up and these kits that you actually use, I think this is what makes the game kind of interesting. So this is not just a straight up first person shooter, right? It's not just about guns. You definitely have the standard guns, right? Like you have pistols and shotguns and ranged weapons, snipers, that type of thing. You have all of that, but the game kind of changes it up, right? Because you also get these kits. Now, these kits are essentially classes. So for instance, you get this water gun. This is essentially your support class. It's used to use the water to put out fires, to cleanse debuffs. You can get a jump kit, which is essentially your mobility class. It has a spring gun. You can jump higher. You can charge up electronics or objectives throughout the map. And finally, you get what's called a fix kit. This is essentially your engineer kit. You can use it to repair machines. You can use the wrench to crowd control and have knockbacks. Now, I don't know if there are going to be more classes at launch, but these are the three that we know about. But I hope they have more classes at launch. Guys, you got to have more than three. But the three they have look pretty good because they have all of this utility. It's just not shooting, right? Shooting can get bored. So it's cool to have these weapons that have utility. Now, it's important to know that the kit that you have you're not forced to just have one of each one, right? I think that's what people worry about. It doesn't work like that. So essentially, you can still do the objectives in the map. You don't absolutely have each one of these kits. What these kits essentially do is specialize you, so you can get through some of the objectives and missions and parts of the mission easier, but it doesn't lock you out of the mission. So if you want to have 3 supports, it seems like to me that you can have that. Now, there are more objectives, right, in the missions. More objectives, more dangerous. The more dangerous the mission gets, and the more that happens, you'll have to work together, right? So I bring that up because on top of the crisis kits, on top of the guns and all that stuff, you also seem to get perks and area bonuses. So essentially the hordes get tougher, the mini bosses spawn, they block your progress, and you kind of need each other to CC and cleanse and buff and all of that. So that's where the perks and the area bonuses come in. Essentially, the closer you are together, the better you are as a team. Now, I don't know why you wouldn't just always group up, but I would imagine, and I'm hopeful, that it's kind of like a horror movie, right? We've all seen these corny horror movies where it's like, maybe we should split up, and obviously you shouldn't split up. I'm hoping maybe you have to split up for objectives and then you group back up and you get the area bonuses up. Now, if that's how the game works, that's going to be cool. But there are perks to kind of get you guys to group up and work together, so people aren't just running off. So next, augments. Augments are, as far as I can tell, kind of like your ultimate item. You can kind of see them at the bottom middle of the screen right there. There's an icon that charges up like you would see in Overwatch, and it charges up throughout the mission, and then at some big moment you unleash it. You guys have seen ultimate abilities in every single game. Now, if you're having Helldivers flashbacks, you're absolutely on the right path, because bro, how many times in Helldivers has your idiot friend dropped an eagle on your head? Well, the same thing is going to happen here. There is friendly fire on the augments. So if your big dumb friend drops some big lightning attack on the map, it's probably going to kill you. Now, this is probably going to make or break your fun, right? Because this is obviously, it's going to be super funny at first, and then at some point it might be irritating. I don't know. I haven't played the game, but definitely I'm getting Helldivers vibes with the friendly fire. I tend to think it's going to be funny, but we'll see. Now, next we got to talk about the corrupted items. Now, if you guys haven't played Control, the way the campaign works in Control is, as you play, they're kind of like these possessed weird items. Like, you might have a crowbar that's floating around and it's playing some weird hiss sound, right? And they do different attacks. So essentially, it's inanimate possessed objects throughout the game in Control. Well, Firebreak takes this to the next level, where there are gameplay modifiers within the game. These are essentially items that can halt or control the flow of the game, and they're kind of based on those weird possessed items from the original Control game. So examples of this are like, there are, for instance, stoplights that you can't walk on red, and then you can walk by them on green. I don't know what's going to happen if you walk by them on green, but don't do it. There are exploding enemies, something we're pretty familiar with in most games. You shoot them and they explode, they deal damage. And the other thing that we know about is low gravity. Now, I got to be honest with you, low gravity is kind of the low-hanging fruit here. Low-hanging fruit. Essentially, I'm not a big fan of low gravity in video games, but we'll kind of see how it works out in this game. So once all objectives are done in the mission, this brings us to the big finale. It's time to get out of here, right? So this is when you cue the Helldivers music. You know, it gets intense. The enemy hordes are spawning. You got the Left 4 Dead helicopter on top of the hospital vibes, no mercy vibes, and essentially it's time to go. This is the intense part of the mission. There are going to be a lot more hordes here, right? And this is going to be where it gets super dangerous, and you just want to get out of the mission. Now, my question here is, if your teammate gets knocked, and you're having to choose between picking your teammate up and just leaving them, my question becomes, what becomes the penalty for not extracting here? The trailer and the gameplay information, it's not really clear on what happens if your teammates don't extract. But they definitely say, you know, you have to choose between picking your teammate up or not. So I'm not sure how much FBC Firebreak goes into the PV extraction side of it, right? Because Left 4 Dead and games like this, they don't really force you to extract to get loot out. This seems to be forcing you to do that. So apparently that's going to affect, you know, how the last phase of the mission goes when you're deciding who to save, who not to save, when to run, and that type of thing. That's going to be a big thing here versus, you know, just a normal co-op game. So that's the game. I'm usually not super excited about games, but because I love Left 4 Dead so much, and because I just absolutely love horde games, I wanted to show you guys this game. And this game comes out apparently on June 17th. It's coming up pretty soon. So that's the game. I think it's going to be pretty cool. I'm going to be doing more previews like this. I hope you guys have been enjoying the videos lately. We're going to be splitting the channel up, so we'll do previews of upcoming games like this, where I can't play the game. It's basically a trailer of some information, and we will, still play the demos. If I, upload a gameplay of a demo, guys, make sure you check that out. Demos are free. There's no reason not to try them if it's a game you're interested in. All right, that's FBC Firebreak. Hope you guys enjoyed the video.